Rule number one of good editing: film everything in chronological order. Tell the best story. Not today, Casey Neistat. Not today. All right. Welcome back. Adventure Skateboarding F40 Plus, where we make videos about skateboarding. And it doesn't matter what type of skateboarding, because this is my adventure in skateboarding. And the last video, we'll put it here. We'll put it here. Put the last video thumbnail there. Last video, we walked through the Fibreflex that I made, right? Not that I made, like made sounds like I built it. I didn't build it. What I did is I wanted a 1970s GNS Fibreflex. And I was like, man, I'm never gonna get to own. I'm sorry, I'm playing with stuff. I'm never gonna get to own a 1970s like actual GNS Fibreflex. Like, they go for a lot of money. There's a picture of one for a lot of money. There's another picture of one for a lot of money. And like I don't know where my hands are. Here's another picture of one for a lot of money. Hopefully those pictures all work together. But yeah, man, they cost a lot, right? So like I'm not willing to invest that kind of money into a skateboard. Do I love them? Yes. Do I want one? Yes. Do I want a piece of crap? No. Do I want to pay an overpriced collector fee? No, because I also want to ride every skateboard I get. And if you're going to ride it, it's hard to pay collector's prices when you're going to ride it. So the last video, if you watch it, I wish you would watch it and like watch more than 5 minutes, like everyone that watched it. But anyway, last video I built this Teamrider, right? And it's rad, and I love it, and I think it's sick. And in that video, I kind of gave the whole history of Fibreflex and what a Fibreflex is. So if you're interested in that, uh, go watch that video because it's totally sick. And I learned a whole bunch in setting that up. But I learned even more. Setting that, because something crazy happened while I was setting that up. So, like I said, I didn't think I'd ever own one of those boards. And I came home. I didn't really come home. I was at home and I was talking to the wife. I was like, man, I really want a Fibreflex. You know, GNS had re-released them and they wanted $175 a board. And then there's Bennett re-releases, the trucks, old school trucks, Bennett's, Bennett Vector. And then there's re-release yo-yo wheels, yo-yos. And I was like, man, maybe I just spend the money and I just build one. Like, I'd spend that kind of money on something I don't even know if I'll really ride it. I know I'll ride it at least once, but I don't know if I'll really ride it for that kind of money. But I really want to own one. Like, I would hate to not have one. Like, it's the one thing I've always wanted. So I was like, I'm buying it. Like, I'm buying it, and I'm gonna build it, and it's gonna be rad. So I started ordering all the stuff from GNS and from Bennett, um, and then it's all in the interwebs, right? Things are out there, and they're out for delivery, and my wife hits me up, and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to this estate sale tomorrow. Are you interested in this?" And I'm like, Yes, I'm interested in that." And she's like, "Well, how much?" I was like, "Oh man, that's a tough call. Like, whatever they want. Like, that's a broad statement, because estate sales, like, man, sometimes they can be crazy. They can be outrageous." And I was like, "I don't know, like $200, $200. That seems fair." And she's like, kind of looks like junk. I was like, yeah, yeah, it kind of looks like junk. Like, I was like, just send me pictures, when you get there. So, she sends me pictures there and she's like, what do you think? And I was like, yeah, yeah, let's do that. And then my son, he's there with her and he finds the truck. At first I thought I was gonna have to buy a replacement truck and I was just gonna throw some Bennett's or something on it. And the truck's on it. And now I realize why this board's for sale. Is because it's it looks broken to the average person that doesn't know what they're looking at because it is broken, right? There's a base plate and there's no truck because the truck is on the coffee table or end table aside from the skateboard, not really next to it. And I honestly believe if it wasn't for this broken Kingpin, uh, I would not have the skateboard because this is what the truck currently or looked like when we picked it up. And I was like, man, I'll just get a new Kingpin. That sounds easy because I know nothing about Gullwing or vintage trucks. So I start scouring the internet, joining Gullwing groups and everything. And this Kingpin doesn't exist. They're not for sale. So like one person was like, "Yeah, I'll send you one, $280." I was like, "Oh man, uh, no thanks. Like, let me go see what I can find." So did some research for machine shops in town. I found one, Machine Designs, in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I went and talked to them. And I brought them this, and I said, "Can you can you make this?" And they're like, "Yeah, man. By the time we do that, put the hours in, the tooling, it's probably gonna be like $100." And I was like, yeah, yeah. So like all the work's up front, right? Like, so, figuring it all the math out and all that. And he's like, yeah. I was like, so how much for two since all the math's done? And he was like, oh man, I guess I could do two for like 150. I was like, yeah, let's do that. So I don't have to do it again. So $150 later, uh, I got two of these. I got two of these. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked, right? Because why would you pay $150 for a Kingpin? Why would you pay $150 for a Kingpin? You pay $150 for a Kingpin because it brings back this 1978-ish, don't know the exact year, fully complete GNS Teamrider Fibreflex. And when you see it in the estate sale, it's got duct tape on the nose for no reason. This is just dirty grip tape. Um, the ply, the fiber ply was starting to separate here, but not too bad. I just put this old rip grip on here that Santa Cruz's make, fit the nose perfectly. Got the Kingpin or got the front truck all fixed, all fixed up. I'm going to show you how that goes together. The board's in great shape. It's just missing the Teamrider sticker right there, which I actually have some. I'm gonna put that on there. It's got tracker, half track truck in the back, old skid plate, some old radio station sticker in the back. These, from what I've gathered in my research, are first generation Kryptonic wheels. I did switch out the bearings. The bearings weren't bad, but they still spun. But I did switch out the bearings. I can't tell you what I put in there. I found some bearings I had laying around, and they work. And then they had RAD pad riser pads on it. And I knew nothing about RAD pads. I've seen angled riser pads in the skate shop, but I didn't know anything about them. So this is what I learned about RAD pads. RAD pad positioning chart. All right, position one, positive front wheel tracking. Good beginning positioning, excellent for slalom position. And that's, you can see the arrow on the going to the front of the nose. That's got the lower wedge to the front for both the front and the rear truck. And then position two has the radical rear truck action giving sharp turning. And that's got the lower wedge in the front towards the nose, but also the lower wedge towards the tail. So those are the two setups that I used on my GNS. And I just think that this is just super cool that I found this old ad. And then here's another one I found, RAD pad system, the RAD pad, a pad for every riding need. So they had, different degrees, 14, 8, 11, excuse me. Yeah, 11, 8, and different hardnesses and systems. And like, these are made, for GNS Fibreflex. So yeah, this one, the blueprint for skateboarding by RAD pad. I think this is super cool. And then at the bottom here it says, remember, RAD pad hard pads are recommended for GNS Fiberflex boards. Like, man, I just think that's super cool. So I learned about RAD pads. So see, this is how the RAD pads were set up on this 78. All right, so you've got the downward slope in the front, and then you've got the downward slope in the back, high end in the front. It's supposed to be a little extra. Excuse me. I got that right. Supposed to be a little extra wiggly that way, but this board does not ride that way. So when I set mine up, because all the parts hadn't arrived to mine yet, when we found this one, I went on eBay and I found some RAD pads, some fucking OG RAD pads. So I set mine up with the lower end in the front, higher end the back on the front truck, and then I went sloped in the front and higher end in the back. Bringing that wheelbase in, making it a little more nimble, according to the chart. So that definitely influenced how I set this board up. I thought that was super interesting. Back to this, all right, because this is what it's all about. I want to share with you a lot more because I shared a lot about the GNS Fiberflex in the last video. I want to share the Gullwing split axle HPG IV Truck. So this was the first truck designed by Gullwing. Mike Williams, I think his name was, founder Gullwing. He was already like a very known slalom downhill skateboarder. He wanted to design his own truck. He went to an aerospace parts manufacturer, like a machine shop, and kind of gave him his idea, and they came up with this. I'm going to show you how this sets up.
Let me walk you through the components of the Gullwing HPG IV split axle truck. All right. So, of course, you have the split axle itself. As you can see, you've got the Gullwing. This is probably where the Gullwing groove came from in this original design of the hanger. Looks like this. And if you look inside, you've got two nuts, and this goes straight through to the wheels. So when you take these wheels off, like, you've got to hold this down because the whole component, bolt to bolt, will come off, and you can just take that whole piece off. It's pretty interesting. So you've just got the hanger, and you've got your spot for your washers, like so. All right, so that's component one. Of course, you've got your bushings. I've got some pretty hard bushings here. Like I said, I think this board was initially set up for downhill, so I didn't want to take away from what it was initially set up for. Now I've got some new hardware there for the washers. All right, this is the Kingpin. Very interesting design. All right. Let me unscrew this a little bit. This is the bottom of the Kingpin, and then you've got this nice finished piece. This is a fixed nut design, and then you've got another finished area, and then you've got your bottom threads, and then it's threaded all the way to the top where another piece goes, like a finishing piece, but I don't have that piece. All right. These washers here are the key component to making this whole design work. If you look here, you'll see a groove, and that's where the washer fits, and that's what locks in the Kingpin. And there's another one on the back end, and you can see the washer fits right in there. So you take your Kingpin and you slide one washer on, you pop it in, and it locks that washer right into that top groove. Take your washer, your bottom washer, you slide it on there, and you take your bottom bolt, screw it on there, once you've got them on there, you've got to hold this one down and tighten this one up, because not the whole thing will spin. All right, before you go too far though, you need a little wiggle. You need a little wiggle because you got to get your bottom bushing on. I'm using barrel washers for stability. And now here's the interesting part, right? With the HPG split axle, you can adjust essentially how much turning radius you want. If you want to do slalom, you would go up higher and you'd give yourself more turning radius. If you're doing downhill, you'd bring it down a little further so you have more stability. I believe that this board, again, was set up mostly for downhill, so we've got it set up lower. All right, then you've got to take your axle, pop it in the pivot cup, pop this up a little bit. I may not have kept it loose enough. Bring that down. Bring that down, wiggle that up, pop it in there, boom. Pop that in there, and then we just take our top one, just like any skateboard, we're just going to pop our washer on right there, and put our top one on. But as you can see, when you start spinning your top one, the bottom one spins as well. So you've got to be holding your bottom Kingpin when you tighten the top. Once you've got your components together, now you've got to decide, where do you want your axle? Do you want it up towards the top, or do you want it down towards the bottom? Where do you want your stability or your turning to be? All right. So I'm going to quickly adjust the top to make sure I got the threads where I want them. What I've done here, I've just given myself just about one thread. All right, because I'm using a really stiff bushing, just give myself about one thread there. The barrel bushings are not the original bushings for this design. These are the original bushings that were on there. And they still sell these. They're hard to get. I think Venom bushings makes them, but I want these now. Now we've got to fix this part, right? So all you got to do is you hold down the bottom of your Kingpin. Again, this one's fixed, right? That one doesn't turn, but this top one does. So we've got to tighten it up to our bushing where we want it and crank it down to the tightness that we want it. And of course you can do that from the top as well, but in my short amount of experimenting, I like to get the top done first and then crank this from the bottom, and then that gives you your thing. So you see that's really stiff, which is kind of where I want it, because that's how I found the board. Found it set up for downhill, so that's how I'm leaving it. We didn't finish tightening up the Kingpin itself, so we still have that. And now we're just going to make sure that the bottom is good and tight. Oh, probably. Yeah, just remember the only thing holding this together is those two washers, right? Pinched between the fixed nut and your bottom Kingpin nut. So your only wiggle room to play is right there. And that's about as tight as I can get it. It is. It's on there. So that is how you set up the split axle HPG, the Gullwing split axle HPG IV.
So, like, what did I do? Right? I got this untested Kingpin I had made. I've got these, probably 43-year-old wheels, maybe 45-year-old wheels. This old deck. Man, I'm gonna go skate it, right? Because that's what we do on here in Adventures in Skateboarding. And the only thing you can do is go see what it works for. Like, does it work? Does it work for slalom stuff, or does it work for downhill? So at first I tried it with some just straight downhill. Here's some clips. Here's some clips from that. Yeah. So first I just let's just test this thing, right? So I took it out to this parking lot with a slight downhill, and I just started just going let's just see if it goes, and it moves and it's stable as I thought it would be. So I just bombed the hill, and then came back. I want to see does it carve? This thing does not carve at all. And maybe it's the bushing I picked, maybe it's where I set up the Kingpin, but I can't get this thing to move at all. It's super stiff, super stiff. It's fun. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's not fun. It's interesting to try and figure out, but it doesn't. It wasn't set up for slalom. There's no way. There's no way this thing was set up for slalom initially. It just doesn't. It doesn't have any wiggle. It doesn't have any wiggle. So back up to the top of the hill and try and do some kind of wider carves and see how it does with that. And that felt pretty good. The wheels definitely grip You have complete control with a wider carve on a slight downhill. Felt super stable. Like it's windy as heck out. But I felt I was in control. So I was like kind of like test one, right? So got that done. Flip two, I went back up and I was like, okay, let's see if I go downhill faster and like do just tighter like slalom movements and see how the Kingpin kind of holds up and see how everything moves. And like felt fine, just a little surf action, just kind of moved. So all right, feeling a little more confident with it. Not confident, but comfortable with it, trying to figure it out. Then I set up some cones so we could test the slalom part of it with some obstacles. Hi, I'm Invention of Skateboarding, and today we slalom on a 1970s Fibreflex. Here we go. We're just kind of cruising. I did 5 paces apart. I felt like, yeah, that was comfortable. That was fun. That was skateboarding, as skateboarding should be. And then just for context, here's the newer board I set up with the Bennett trucks and the yo-yos and the RAD pads set up in the different configuration. Like this, it's a lot faster and a lot looser. Like I feel like I can move on this board. Like this thing's fun. Yeah, I hit the cone, but man, I was going way faster. I'm still going. Super fun. So what do you do? Once you've tested on the slight slant, there's only a few things left to do, and that's walking up bigger hills. Hey Brian, do me a favor, man. Grab a clip of me bombing the short hill first. And he was like, yeah, no problem. So I just grabbed it and I just started moving down the hill. Boom. Super stable. Super happy and hyped on that for sure. Then we went up the big hill. This is also at the park. And like, yeah, let's just take this untested. Well, it's been kind of tested Kingpin down the bigger hill. And let's just go for it, man. And I'm just fucking like, send. Man, that was so fun. I was like, man, maybe I should build a downhill board because I sure like some downhill. Like that was rad. Like that was such a good time. Let's see. That's the first run. Here goes the second run. It's moving. Look at this. We're just going. Boom. Little bit of carve. It's like, man, we're just cruising. That board moves, man. We are moving. Like, we didn't put any, great bearings or anything there. We just grabbed what we had and we just went for it. Yeah, POV from the top of the hill, the bigger hill. Like, and then I'm ready to go, like, full send. Initially, I was like, okay, maybe I should carve it out a little bit. Like, we're just going for it, right? Because you can't go into these things worrying about it. You worry about these things, you're gonna get hurt. You're like, look at that board. Like, we're just going. You can even see Brian Shadow, like he gave a little push, and we are just going boom. Look at that separation. Look how far forward we are. We are getting it. Man, I'm hyped. I'm definitely building a downhill board. There's a downhill board behind me. It's the future. That's the next adventure. Watch. We're going all in. So overall, like between the two boards, the OG, man, that thing's for downhill. That is 100%, I think, made for downhill. Absolutely love it. Never thought I would own an OG Fibreflex, and I 100% owe it to this broken Kingpin because we got that board complete for $100, $100 at an estate sale. I believe that front truck goes for about $400. I believe that board in its condition could probably resell between three to eight, depending on the buyer and the day. Those OG Kryptonic wheels, I think they sell for about 90. Um, like we got a good deal. We got a good deal. So, and that half track, the front wheels on it, picture. Um, I looked those things up on the web everywhere. Couldn't find them. They don't exist. Whatever they are, super old, short lived in the world of skateboarding. But if it wasn't for this, Kingpin, like, was $150 to have a Kingpin made, 100%, 100%. I am $250 in on a full, complete skateboard from the mid 70s that's ready to ride, ready to bomb hills. Like, I'm not going to beat that. That's sick. And I got an extra Kingpin. So really, $75 would I paid to get it up and running? Yeah, it would have cost me 100 if I only had one made, but $150, two Kingpins, ready to go. And I don't think that board would have ever been for sale if it would have been complete and ready to ride. Someone would have passed it along, or someone would have held on to it, or someone would have thrown it up on eBay. But instead, it was sitting in a estate sale, looking like junk to the average person. Um, yeah. And what did it help me with? It really helped me set up my new one. Like getting the RAD pads is something I wouldn't have thought about. So I'm hyped on that. And then just riding my new one, like I have so much more freedom in riding my setup now. Like I don't have to protect this board. Like I can go ride it so freely, which I've already done. If you go watch the video, um, it's rad that I can just go ride this and do different things. Like I got the Bennett's on it right now because that's originally what I wanted to set it up with. And I've got the Cadillac wheels on it, which was fun for cruising, but I'm going back to the yo-yos. And I'm going to change out the Bennett's, right? Um, I'm going to change out the Bennett's because I want to ride this thing in the bowl, but I don't want to hit the bowl with a square truck. So I've got these not original, but I've got the 109 Indies, which was one of the first Indy designs that came out. And I'm going to hit the bowl in these, and these are sick. Like I know Alva wasn't a GNS guy, but these 109s are absolutely sick. Like this is engraved in there. That's not paint. That's engraved in there. These are so rad. I'm gonna be crushing the bowl on these. Um, love that. Love that I learned about the RAD pads. Love that I've got some 109 Indies. The yo-yo wheels. So these are reissue yo-yo wheels. Original yo-yo wheels had one hardness of urethane, 50%, and a softer urethane, the other 50%. I don't think these are made the same way, but I learned a lot about yo-yo wheels in the setup. Yo-yo wheels were uh, um, came out through GNS, but Steve Cathy, Hall of Fame skateboarder, who everybody knows that nobody knows, and everyone should know, Steve Cathy, GNS rider, designed this style yo-yo wheel. All wheels prior to the yo-yo were square. We've all seen the square wheels, right? We've all seen wheels that are flat right here. Yo-yo was the first wheel that was rounded, and we owe that to Steve Cathy. And you know who Steve Cathy is. You just don't know who Steve Cathy is. Steve Cathy is like the legendary old logo of the silhouette on Sector 9. he was also, if you ever seen a OG issue of like Skateboarder magazine, was the logo on the pull out for the subscription envelope. So that's like a cool piece of skateboard history. And then like also not a GNS rider, but I used the Eric Dressen um, Bronson G3 bearings on this because the gold and the silver, the gold and the red, and the colors match the Fibreflex sticker. I think that's sick. And if you look at the colors on, I don't know if you can see that in the light. If you see the colors on these Alva 109 Indies, that's going to look so sick. So I'm hyped, right? Because now I've got my OG. I got my OG 1970s Fiberflex that I've got to have forever and ever. And then I've got this Fiberflex that I can play with and experiment on and try different things and ride freely and not care as much. I've got my GNS Warp Tail, Stacy Peralta Warp Tail right there. I've got my J Adams Z Flex right there. I've got my Tony Alva Lost 78 right there. Like, man, I love the history. I love the history of skateboarding. Love all of this. So hopefully this wasn't too nerdy. But hopefully you see the passion in it and you get it. If you get it, you're still here. If you don't get it, you clicked off a long time ago. But anyway, that's where we're at. So appreciate you watching. We'll see what the next adventure is, but I'm pretty sure we're heading to Downhill. We're heading to Downhills. If you're interested at all, and I'm not talking longboard, I'm talking carbon fiber fucking speed machine damn long downhill. If you're interested in fucking gloves with pucks and sliding and downhill at all, like let me know in the comments. Like I'm interested if you're interested. And if you got anything out of this video, learned anything or found anything interesting, like please like share it. And if the video sucks, tell me the video sucks. Like everything doesn't have to be all positive. Like I want to make good videos, but if you don't leave any uh feedback that helps me do that, then I'm just going to keep making the same type of videos. So, and then we're all stagnant and we all suck. So I want to do better. Look, I don't do this for money. I do this for skateboarding. So I don't make anything. I'm not trying to make anything. I'm trying to make good videos for skateboarding. That's it. So let's make good videos. All right. Go do something rad.